Okay, guys, welcome back to the very first episode of the 8 Syndicate in the year 2026. We took a small hiatus there to sort of reorient ourselves, and we're back to talk about a film we love, which is also a film that hasn't done too well at the box office. I'm Anubhav.
And I am Achyuth, and we are the 8 Syndicate. So, the film that has flopped but is actually a really, really, really fucking great film. A film that, as all great films do, made me remain thinking about it even the very next day, like a hum, an aftertaste. And that film is 28 years later, The Bone Temple.
This film is obviously a sequel to 28 Years Later, which released last year and surprised the hell out of us with its uniqueness and its distinct quality as an anti zombie film. Bone Temple and its prequel were shot simultaneously, which is why Spike, the actor who plays Spike, Alfie Williams, looks the same age. We saw him at the premiere photos, and he's just,
Way taller.
yeah, he's like some 6 foot tall, lanky, crone kind of guy. But here's the lowdown. So, 28 years later, part one, which had a budget of around like I would say like 50 to 60 million. And the conventional notion is that a film needs to make double its amount to break even.
Because if X is its budget, then you have the same X amount for marketing. So 2X is your total budget. And the box office is shared 50-50 typically with the theaters. So if 2X is your investment, in order to get 2X back, you need to make 4X in the box office.
Yeah, you need to make a lot of money to get that money back. So this film has made 28 years later, part one made a pretty nice $151 million, which is not bad.
It's not only not bad, it's insane considering
The content of the
the
film.
way it plays out. You know, that the film did so well.
The reason is that people like don't know what they're in for.
Like the film surprises you. Like the film pulls you in with a zombie world and a zombie story, and then in the first half, it's pretty conventional that way with some masterful edits, that boots sequence, the night vision red shots, all those franticness and everything, and then it sneaks into the whole story, a coming of age tale
Yes.
that's way more tender, and that's not really even about zombies or the world of zombies at all. It's just the world in which a more tender story exists.
There's also the amazing score by Young Fathers, which I feel is Oscar worthy. I think if it weren't for Sinners or One Battle After Another, that would be my favorite.
I mean, not just the score, even Anthony Dodd Mantle for cinematography.
But the Oscar rewards conventional images much more than experimental ones. So I'm not surprised it didn't get nominated. And honestly, I feel any nominations for this film would just tarnish its punk ethos.
No.
It's an edgy punk film.
We want punk to become mainstream. This is punk because it's trying to say good things, and it's nice if it's more mainstream. It doesn't have to remain punk.
No, it's fine. It doesn't have to be. I don't need it to be mainstream. I need it to exist. That is more than enough. These things, they have a tough time existing.
I'm with you there. I've grown up enough to not really care about the validation that the Oscars give or claim to give. This is just because we are on the topic of Young Father should have been nominated, that I'm saying that, hey, from that perspective, this whole film should have been there. Would have been nice to receive, for this story and this film to receive that love.
Yeah, it is. So, 28 years later, The Bone Temple, which is directed by Nia Da Costa, it was made on a budget of 60 million. So, it needs kind of like a 120 million to break even.
No, it needs over 200. Actually, see, my initial calculation involved like a 1:1 match, that the movie's budget is the marketing budget. But seeing as there was barely any marketing, I don't think it needs so much to break even.
Yeah, they were very confident about the film, but they barely marketed it, which is like insane.
I think they just felt that, all the $150 million people from the first one will at least come for this because they're confident
Yeah.
about this as well.
So let me just crudely talk numbers. 60 million budget somehow, I don't know how. It's made only like $46 million. And I think if trends hold, it's gonna tap out at some in the mid 50s, which is like it's a flop in any sense of the word. Which is unfortunate when it happens to a movie as good as this. I thought it was a fantastic film. And I think this is the reason it flopped. You need to have had seen 28 years later and also have known that this is the sequel and not the same film. I feel like a lot of people don't know that this is the sequel because it's still 28 years later.
You're saying that because this one also has the phrase 28 years later in its title, people thought it's the same movie and hence didn't go.
Yes, and also because it released like barely like 7, 8 months after. I have a feeling there was something like that. Like for 28 years later, I've already seen that. Again, it's like a marketing issue only.
I don't think, when The Godfather Part 2 released, they thought, okay, The Godfather, I've seen that already.
No, that's the thing, right? It's still got 28 years later and it's releasing so soon. I mean, people are not trained to expect films so soon.
I'll accept your theory with like a fistful of salt.
Yeah, no, because people are stupid, right? That's the main assumption of my theory, and my assumption is woefully perhaps correct. But I really think that's a major thing. Like they should have expounded that this is the sequel, this is the next chapter.
Dude, in the movie itself, that when the title card comes, it's only the Bone Temple. They should have just called it the Bone Temple then.
No, there is a 28 years later that comes in the titles.
Arey, that's like okay, that comes as part of the text. But then in that bright shot of the field, red letters met the Bone Temple.
Yeah, honestly, they should have just idiot proofed that shit and called it 28 years later, chapter 2, or some shit like that. Just idiot proof that crap. I also think this is a very difficult film for people to watch because it's very gory and I mean it's got a great cinema score, but the cinema score is given by people who watch the film. So it's people who loved 28 years later and they came back to watch it and they obviously loved it. I don't think there's one like there are very few people who've loved the prequel and hated this one.
And I don't think anybody hated this. If anything, most people are only saying that the prequel was superior without taking anything away from this. Like this too is a great film.
No, but I mean it's a shame it failed, but I'm glad it like,
I'm sorry, dude. Let's not say, that it failed as if,
it failed to make money. I mean it
yeah, and fuck that.
that might dictate whether part three. I mean, apparently it has a green light, but does it get made in light of how badly this has done in the box? This doing badly in the box office is not its fault. It's not the film's fault because we've seen the film, we've seen that it's good. It's on the audience, it's on the marketing, it's on like whatever schedule they release this on.
I mean, the fact that they released it in the full cold of winter also would
Yeah.
dissuade people from going out and watching it.
Yeah, the last film released somewhere in like in the summer, right? Early summer kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That I don't know why they didn't do that here because last summer was pretty packed, I think, right?
Last summer was crazy packed.
Yeah, so I don't understand the logic of not releasing it sometime in the summer or spring year.
So let's just say that it didn't make money, then the failure is not on the part of the movie, but on the part of the executives who scheduled it and marketed it and all that.
You wanna hear a depressing fact? Primate, the movie about the killer monkey,
Okay.
that film has made more money than 28 years later, The Bone Temple in America.
Mm-hmm. Guess that says something about our times.
Let's dive into why this film is unique. I think let us go and light our cigarettes with money because fuck money. It's not an indicator. It has never been an indicator of quality.
Yeah. If anything, Only the lowest rung of online fandom resorts to box office numbers.
Yeah, or the highest rung of Bollywood fans. That's all they care about. All these fan wars are there.
And people celebrate as if they are getting the percentage
Yeah, yeah,
of the revenue.
yeah. So Prabhas fans are having a bad time of it lately.
Yeah, they've been having a bad time for a while now. But okay, back to something.
We are Rave Fiends fans. We are Rafists.
We are Ray Fiennes fans, we are Samson fans, and also Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal fans.
No, I'm not a no.
I'm a fan as a character and performance.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's why.
A quick interruption from the editing table. Everything from here on will have heavy spoilers, so beware. And a quick fact about the movie, the second part of 28 years later was released exactly 28 weeks after the first one. So yeah, enjoy.
So 28 years later, the Bone Temple picks up right after like a few weeks.
No, that's too long a time. It picks up immediately. Not even a few weeks, a few hours after the ending of 28 years later,
Yeah, there's a flash forward at the end of 28 years later, part one, right?
where Spike is running from some infected. Let's call them infected from now on.
So I'm gonna call them zombies. Fuck you.
No, for the purpose of this movie, dude.
No, they're zombies.
Okay.
I think it's important to call them zombies, and I'll tell you why.
Okay. Fine. So Spike is running from the infected slash zombies and he's cornered and he is about to meet his end when he meets this charismatic blonde man who says, "Hey, do you need some help?"
There he meets Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell, who astounded our screens last year as Remick as Sinners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he is amazing in this film. He leads a band of, like he calls them as Seven Fingers or something.
You know why seven fingers, even though our hands have 10 fingers?
Why is he like Hrithik Roshan?
Because he had seven sisters.
Yes, 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 that's a theory. Yeah, so he leads a pack of Jimmies who are like violent. Basically, they are like the droogs from Clockwork Orange, if you've seen that, who go around and they are Satanists. So they go around and deliver souls to Satan. And their twisted acts of charities are basically acts of torture that is meted out to their suspecting victims. So Spike finds himself in tow with them, and his first act of survival with these guys,
His initiation.
his initiation, yes, is to take the place from one of the Jimmies. So they poured a Jimmy and Spike into a knife fight, which Spike manages to win just because of like sheer luck. It seems like
Sheer luck.
he's now one of the Jimmies, and he goes with the Jimmy gang, and the Jimmies set out on their like whatever their twisted adventures are.
On their carnival of carnage.
Yes, well put. Parallel to this, we meet Dr. Calson, who was, as we established, as this sort of benign, weird force in the wasteland that is Britain now. Earlier, like in the last film, we saw him help Spike and helped sort of euthanize his mother, who was suffering from cancer. Basically, was very gentle towards Spike and all.
And basically helped him understand what grief is
Yeah,
and gently eased him through that passage of his mother.
yeah. In a hero's journey, he would be the wizard of the story,
Yeah, he is the wizard archetype.
like the mentor figure. And in the last film, we saw that he had a certain relationship with a zombie called Samson.
This Samson is an alpha zombie, by the way, bigger and more dangerous than the others.
Yeah, with a massive cock, which I feel is important. I think it's important.
Yeah, because literally the story behind the alphas is that Swedish soldier says that the rage virus increased the testosterone
Yeah.
production in their body, and so it made them bigger. And so naturally, what else would get big with a lot of testosterone?
Yeah, I feel like this has some connect to like Samson is a Greek name, which is interesting.
Samson and Delilah.
No, that is a biblical story. So Samson is not a Greek name, it's a Hebrew name. My bad. But I feel like there is a connect here with Greek statues, as the Greek statues have small dicks because apparently the smaller your dick, the more intellectual you are and more refined and more elegant. Oh, that's true. Of Greek statues, I don't know about real life.
I'm glad you paused and then clarified because for a second I was like, wait, how do you know that's true?
And conversely, the rage virus, in fact, the zombies of the rage virus have massive dongs that are lovingly censored when they come to India. And also, like, where does the zombie come from? The zombie originally were a sort of underclass, you could say, who basically what would happen is that, okay, zombies are real, but the realistic zombies are basically what would happen is poor people in Africa, I don't know where in Africa, but they used to be poisoned with a sort of paralytic venom.
So then when it wears off, they would rise from their graves.
So they would die and then they would be buried and, all rituals and everything. And then later, the people who poisoned them would come, would sort of
Exhume them.
exhume them, and by this time they would be revived, but they would be in a state of, they would be in a heightened state which is susceptible to hypnosis and all that,
Okay.
and they would be forced to work in fields. I don't think it still happens, but Clairvius Narcissus, he's a famous case who claimed to have been, zombified thus. But basically, what is zombie but a sort of underclass you have exploited after giving them the delusion of death. So zombies have been representative of this underclass, this lumbering sort of people who can't think for themselves. Now, what is it when you get a lot of zombies?
A horde
It becomes a fear of this like unthinking mass, you know?
that has like one simple goal, which is to kill and consume anything.
Yeah. And then 28 days later, posited, what if these guys could fucking run? You know?
And not just that, it also changed the origin of the zombie thing. Like zombies were previously like the undead, but
Yeah.
in 28 days later, it became a virus that's been engineered by the humans.
Yeah, it made everything realistic, and but the thesis of 28 years later was that, and this was novel for a zombie film of all time, other than maybe I think, I Am Legend, which wasn't really zombies, it was vampires, but I Am Legend also posited like what if the man hunting them, what if the last survivor is a villain of the story? But 28 days later posited that what's worse than zombies are humans, specifically
Yeah.
soldiers in that film. Like, soldiers are soldiers.
Not just soldiers, but humanity. Like there's even a long dialogue exchange where they talk about just this. Eccleston's character says that everywhere he has gone, every atrocity he has seen has been committed by humans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's what it's about.
And yeah, and even Cillian Murphy has to become like very monstrous to defeat them. Then we come to 28 years later, part one, where Britain has basically been isolated. And it's like a very obvious metaphor for Brexit, where the rest of the world is fucking partying with iPhones, and Britain is just, like consumed by these monstrous, screaming, insane people, and a few pockets of civilization, which are also cruel in their own way, where Spike
Yeah.
comes from and all that. And then the sanest man is a doctor, which is again an allusion to the NHS, which they have a take about that here.
Like the sanest man is a man of science, basically.
It's very like Reddit atheist of it, like to make the sanest man and all this a man of science, and
And an atheist at that. He's explicitly atheist,
yeah.
and that acts as a direct counter to Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal.
And his atheism is what has led to the Bone Temple and everything. It's him being spiritual but also atheistic in a way.
Yeah, like this life is all that's there, but everything in this life is sacred.
Yeah, but interestingly, in 28 years later, there was this insane scene where a zombie gives birth.
Yeah.
Because I have never seen a zombie give birth in any scenario except maybe I don't know, was it there in Army of
No.
Zombies or something? The Zack Snyder one.
Army of the Dead, no.
I think he planned on doing that, but he didn't because he's an edgy fucker. But yeah, it's there here, and the child that comes out of this is not infected at all. It's not a zombie child.
Because the placenta protected it
Yeah.
from the virus.
Yeah, so that's an interesting sort of, like wrinkle. Like it humanizes these zombies that we've learned to hate and dehumanize. That's what's interesting about this new batch of films.
Like, so this film is in a way more anti-zombie, like you said, than 28 years later, the predecessor. This one is way more anti-zombie.
Yeah, it kind of turns that zombie metaphor on its head, like where the so-called uninfected people are the ones carrying out the atrocities. Meanwhile, parallelly,
Exactly.
yeah, a zombie is getting more and more human and sort of finding its humanity again. So,
Like, in fact, if you look at the whole film, there is exactly one instance of zombie-inflicted violence.
yeah.
All the other bits of gruesome violence we see in the film are all human inflicted.
No, I mean, there is that scene where that family that the Jimmys sort of kill, but before that, they are being pursued by zombies and all that.
Yeah, that is the one. That is the only one. In no other scene are zombies pursuing and trying to kill humans in this film.
No, there is one more scene where the alpha gets that guy, or is that the same scene?
It's the same scene, and then after this,
Okay.
the alpha is eating one person's head.
We didn't get that head eating shot. Fuck Indian censors.
Dude, he's eating proper white matter from the skull, okay? I'm so glad I
Bro,
wasn't eating popcorn in the theater.
I can't
White
believe.
matter straight from the brain. He's picking it, and you
Wow.
see sinews dripping from it, and he puts it in his mouth. Oh,
So they censored all this shit, bro. We didn't see shit. It's ridiculous.
so yeah, that there was only one zombie scene of violence. It was all everything else was done by humans onto humans. So that's how, like you said, this film flips it. It understands that the hatred and apathy, like, okay, one thing that Dr. Kelson basically says is this: why does an infected person or a zombie attack even a baby? Like, what possible threat does a baby have to the virus or the host? Nothing. If you take that same example and put it to humans, human beings have been capable of killing babies and children indiscriminately, anyone, regardless of whether they pose a personal threat. Just for personal gain, even they have done it. We are capable of it. And so we are the real scary monsters of the world right now. And our humanity, through reclaiming and recovering a zombie, is what the film is telling us to aspire towards. It's a mirror as well as an aspiration. Fucking love it.
I mean, the metaphor is basically like, I mean, if you think of zombification as like this radicalism, be it like nationalist radicalism or like even religious radicalism.
Herd mentality of any kind, let's just call it.
Yeah, like yeah, violent herd mentality.
Yeah.
This film is like you can be cured of it. Like it basically takes the zombie metaphor, like whatever metaphor the zombie has been applied to. This film is like fuck that. Have empathy for who this genre is not letting you be empathetic for. That is what I
Yes.
find very astonishing about this film.
Like what you just said is very insightful because as the genre itself, a zombie film means it's about the people surviving against zombies all the time.
Yeah, it's a dehumanizing genre. Like to be honest, like I mean, we enjoy it, but let's be honest, that's what it is. It appeals to your fantasy of killing and being attacked by so many nameless hordes, which are your neighbors and your or some imagined enemy that you have. This film is like there is no enemy. This film posits maybe who you consider your enemy is not. Which is a very interesting through line for a
Yeah.
zombie film to take, which makes it an anti-zombie film.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, as I might have mentioned, the version that we got in Indian theaters was like a Saudi Arabia cut or something. Like characters were blurred, and I feel like we didn't get a lot of scenes that you did in Germany. So, like, how violent is this film?
It was violent enough to make me squeamish,
Oh
and
shit!
that's not easy.
Yeah. Oh shit! I c- fuck
Because I've
fuck
sat
fuck.
through quite a lot of dark and violent films.
Yeah, today is Republic Day as we are recording. Fuck this country. Fuck it. Fuck all censor board. Fuck the fact that we need to get a Saudi Arabia cut to get our films in theaters. Fuck our distributors who think that, who don't even bother to, I don't think they even bothered with the original cut. I think they just made a cut for Saudi Arabia and they just,
They preemptively submit a self-censored cut.
yeah, I think they've done that. Yeah. I watched Marty Supreme and Timothy Chalamet's ass was there in all its glory. So,
One-off scenes you can get away with maybe, but in this film where there is so much gore, obviously that is going to be under scrutiny. So I'm not surprised that they axed some scenes. Actually, there is scene of violence that I said made me also squeamish. That scene actually has a purpose
hmm,
to the plot in terms of showing us just how disgusting and vile Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal is,
hmm,
and just how unquestioningly violent his fingers are.
hmm,
And that sequence in question is Jimmy and the fingers terrorizing this family in a barn that's a family of survivors. And so eventually they're tied up with their hands above them, hanging from the ceiling. And that's when, like you had mentioned earlier, Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal says that it's time for some acts of charity in the name of their Lord. And the charity is
de-shirt them or something like that. Take off their shirts, something like that,
take
right?
off their shirts. It's either take off their shirts or take off their trousers. And when it comes to taking off their shirts, well, it means from the neck down till the torso, using one small knife with many, many, many cuts and pulling skin down like wallpaper.
Wait, you saw all this?
We saw all of it.
What are you what are you saying? We didn't get nothing. We saw them starting to do that shit and then it cut and it didn't feel like an abrupt cut and like they were all already skinned. We literally saw that. So
No.
everything is there in the film.
In fact, there are three people, right? So they make sure to take their time with the first and then the second,
What the fuck?
so that by the time you get to the third, you are like, please just spare him of this somehow. Please spare him.
My
And
God.
then when they say, oh, what about this person? Shall we remove his trousers? Then you've seen what removing a shirt is like. Now you're going to see them repeat that for the bottom. Like, no, you are horrified. And that is why it's effective and
Okay,
important.
one thing is there the film is not shot like 28 years later, part one, which is very energetic and all that. It was shot in a very sort of low energy way because it had all this violence. Because the violence is very loud from what I hear. Now, if you have violence that loud, you have to sort of balance it out.
Yeah, because in 28 years later, part one, the violence itself is not that loud.
Yeah,
So the editing and the shots
yeah, it's very
and the
stylized.
camera shaking and all of that had to make up for it.
Whoever was Bone Temple in India or any of the countries where this cut went to, we saw the balance. We didn't see what it was balancing.
Right,
So
right.
we saw much more subdued version of the film. Obviously because
Mm.
of the censors, but because we didn't get all these scenes that I feel are essential, we didn't get the correct experience of it.
You know the scene where towards the end of the barn bit, when Jemima gets her head impaled with that hook thing.
Yeah, no, I like that scene where she gets impaled by a hook.
Yeah, but I want to ask you whether that was censored, because how it played out is after she's impaled with that,
Yeah, she starts saying stuff, right?
it stays on her
Yeah.
with Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal in the background, who's just looking at Jimmy Ink. Like, aren't you gonna go after that person? And then it cuts to Jimmy Ink and she doesn't do anything. And it cuts back to Jimmy Crystal and then Jemima falls down dead. So that little interaction where he's like, aren't you gonna do something? Where as Jemima's head is like fully bloodied and bleeding out and a hook is stuck into it. I don't know if that was there for you guys.
No, I think it was there. I don't remember this interaction, but nothing felt like it was cut from that. Like she starts seeing weird shit, right? Because it's hit her brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember her saying weird
She
shit.
doesn't immediately fall dead. She starts saying gibberish and then falls.
But yeah, I feel like since the torture of that homestead is like a very integral part of the language of the film, We really missed out on that. And of course, this film is about violence and how far violence can go and how ideologies can lead to violence, which is shown to Jimmy, Crystal, and all these guys.
He ensures that his fingers who never dare question him.
Yeah,
That kind of diktats are commonplace in fascism and in religious settings.
they are basically the Reform Party in the UK.
So that basically is Jimmy and his fingers, these absolutely depraved monsters in human form. And Spike is caught with them.
Meanwhile, Dr. Kelson is doing mad fucking drugs. He's stripping balls with a giant zombie.
And they're dancing hand in hand in a field of yellow flowers with Duran Duran Ordinary World blasting in full volume. Oh man, I was
This
grinning.
stuff was ludicrous. I was laughing in my seat.
I went and watched it with two friends, and they were also like laughing when that happened. Like I could hear them laugh. Like great shit.
It sort of demasculinizes the alpha quite a bit, that he's high and
Yes,
yeah, and all that, which is, I think, what the film is going for. It's like this, it's trying to temper your testosterone and like make you human again.
make him less scary first before humanizing him.
I mean, this subplot is basically Dr. Kelson sedating Samson with drugs. And at a pivotal point, he also starts taking that drug, putting faith that maybe he will not be attacked by Samson, that Samson now does not consider him a threat. And then he wakes up and Samson has just peacefully come out of his high and left. So after that, it leads to him having these tripping sessions with Samson. And
Hmm.
during one of those sessions, he realizes that he's going to run out of the drugs. Samson won't be able to rely on him anymore and he won't be able to sedate him. So he's just about to poison and kill Samson.
Like euthanize him kindly.
Yeah, I mean, his euthanizing is, I mean, it's still murder. But right at that moment, Samson, this insane, growling, crazy zombie, alpha zombie, looks at the moon and says, Moon. It was like an astounding moment, and Kelson realizes that there is still, some hope in, trying to cure the infected.
And not only that, he realizes that maybe what he is doing is leading him close to it.
Yeah,
What he's doing right now, the drugs that he's doing with Samson. Dr. Kelson also so enjoyed it because he has been so alone here and he now has his friend.
yeah, he has this
And I
companion.
think this film just shows that life is good when you have friends to share a good time with. And poor Dr. Kelson just needed that.
So one of my favorite, like, so Kelson formulates a drug that will attack the psychoactive elements of the rage virus, and he gives it to Samson. And
As
Samson,
a Hail Mary.
yeah, and Samson sort of, his old life, his pre-infected life is coming back to him, and he drifts into a train, which was, I think, the last memory he had before the infection. And this is an amazing
The
scene.
same train where the pregnant infected was there.
Yeah, they're just reusing sets, I feel, but I mean, it's cool.
But it also ties in because Samson would logically call that train compartment his home.
Like his nest or something, yeah.
Right.
So he goes back there, and as he's coming out of the, of the hallucination of the rage virus, the other zombies are sort of circling around him because they can sense that he's becoming sane. And he flashes back to when he was a kid in a train. Basically, there's this ticket checker who is, I mean, this is set 28 years earlier, where there's a ticket checker and a woman ticket checker who is asking him for his ticket. And it cuts back to the present day where the zombie Samson is like, I don't have a ticket. It's such a crazy
It's worked.
fucking moment. Yeah, that he's cured. It's like one of those when Caesar in Planet of the Apes goes no, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's also equivalent to when in Andor, Andy Serkis is like never more than 12. Like it's like breaking out of your program. You're becoming something greater. It's that,
Hmm.
but it's also valid because immediately the other zombies start attacking him because they recognize that he's not infected anymore, and they're sort of biting him, and we don't know if he survived all that. And it's a great scene. I love that scene. Like I was gripping my seat during that scene.
Yeah. I have to mention a parallel here. Both Samson and Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal were children
Yeah.
when the infection broke out.
Oh yes, 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 yes. And they became equally monstrous, but
They
Samson
both
breaks
they
over.
both grew up to be their own versions of powerful monsters.
Yeah,
And the interesting thing is that, and we'll come to this, which is that Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal eventually meets Dr. Kelson.
yeah,
When that meeting happens, it basically becomes clear to Dr. Kelson that even Jimmy Crystal,
yeah,
hears the voices of his father, hears the voice of Satan in
yeah.
his.
He's also got like schizophrenia.
He's also psychotic, just like the rage virus is
Yeah.
making the zombies psychotic. So it's like there are many parallels, thematic parallels between Samson and Jimmy Crystal over here.
Yeah. Interestingly, they are both, like the children of the. They are 28 years later, basically. Like they are
They are
there.
the byproduct of the world, that adult world that existed back then, that created the hate-filled world today,
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. The parallels that are being drawn are very interesting. But I think with this film, Pike's story takes a real backseat, I feel. Like he's just there to observe.
Like I think that Spike's main story was done in the first film,
Yeah.
and now it will continue in the third film.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of a waste of a protagonist. Like, have him he's very passive here. He's just scared and passive.
He's not the protagonist here.
Yeah.
Just because he was the protagonist in the previous one doesn't automatically make him the protagonist here. In fact, I would say there are three main characters in the film, and they are Samson, Dr. Kelson, and Jimmy.
Yeah. But again, like, see, if you don't have Spike as one of the lead, it's kind of awkward as a trilogy, like he'll come back to the fore in the next one. But I mean, okay, what is the first part of this trilogy doing?
It is establishing what the world is like 28 years later,
Hmm.
and then it is showing Spike's whole journey with respect to his dad and then his
Yeah.
mom and Dr. Kelson, and him deciding to come of age on his own away from the village.
So what is this part doing?
This part is focused less on Spike and more about the world and the nature of evil in the world.
Okay.
And the nature of evil is, by extension, the nature of the rage virus in this film. So, this film actually does a lot in terms of world changing and world establishing events. Like we know now that the virus, how the infected people see others, the virus makes them psychotic, that it can be cured, and that Samson's child is also somewhere over there uninfected. And then we know that the human monster here is a byproduct of the same psychosis and hate. So if the world is ravaged by the hateful zombies, then it's also ravaged by the same hate. So it's all about the world, I feel. First was personal, second has widened the lens.
So what do you think the third one is gonna do?
I have no idea. I had no idea that I would see Samson and Kelson doing drugs and dancing. Okay, so I am not going to guess.
Yeah, these films are another reason I think why this film hasn't succeeded as much as it should is because these films are surprising and audiences kind of hate surprise. Like they're not zombie movies per se.
I mean, the first one was still like mainly a zombie movie without really going out there and challenging the tropes.
But the climax of that isn't like a guy shooting thousand zombies or shooting people or some shit like that. It was literally a guy saying goodbye to his mom. That was the climax.
Yeah, but that was simple and heartfelt enough
Hmm.
to, first of all, till like the halfway point he has you going on with him because it's a traditional
Hmm.
zombie movie by then, and you're already invested. And now that you care enough, how about some emotions which will also resonate with most people who have lost someone, who grieve? So That's it, sort of had you first and then gave you something that most people could digest easily. This one is not at all that. In fact, I would say a lot of people who really enjoyed the freneticness of the first film would have also been like, okay, why is this so normie? But then maybe because it's dealing with different themes, it's dealing with human rage and the human condition
Hmm.
rather than just zombies. And it's about reclaiming humanity in a way. So that's why it's different, and that also could have like turned people off who expected the same style, like you said,
Yeah, yeah.
who but were surprised. But unlike the first film, this one didn't massage its surprise in. The whole thing was a surprise.
Yeah, the whole thing was like, this is a very different film.
Yeah, from the start.
Of course, we have to talk about the money shot, the money scene here, the linchpin of the film. So the Jimmies find Dr. Kelson, but because he's so fucking weird, he's covered in iodine and he's built up this sort of islet of skulls everywhere.
Ossuary.
Yeah, they're like, this guy must be Satan. So they're like, oh shit, we
This
found.
guy must be Satan himself.
Yeah, oh shit, we found our god. So Jimmy Crystal goes to talk with him, and they have a very tense conversation.
This is hilarious, by the way. Like how when Jimmy Crystal starts approaching him, he's so cautious, like, fuck, am I about to meet my
Yeah,
lord? Could this be him?
yeah.
And he's so cautious, and it's there in his eyes and the hesitation in his words. And then he realizes that, okay, Dr. Kelson is a doctor, he's an actual doctor. He's just a normal guy. You're just a normal guy. Okay. Then what you're going to do is, I'm going to bring my guys over. You're going to tell them that you are Satan and that I am your son
Yeah,
and that they should
and that
listen
they
to
have
me.
to listen to him. Yeah,
And if you don't do it, I'll feed you your intestines.
yeah.
Cool. This was the most fun chat I've had. That was,
When Jimmy is speaking with Dr. Kelson, Kelson is also like,
it's almost like equals talking, na?
no, it's not like that. It literally felt like a doctor talking with his patient because he's like, you have he understands that he has psychosis and he investigates, like, do you hear the voices in your head and all that stuff. Like, he is
Yeah.
investigating at that moment what is wrong with this dude.
And that he's smart. That's how he immediately figures out that this guy is also psychotic. And so he realizes that, okay, if this guy brings his band of crazies with him, it might not end well.
I mean, he doesn't know if his followers are equally psychotic, right?
He doesn't. So he's like, okay, I'm going to grab all my antipsychotic medicines, make a big powdery ring around the arena.
No, he basically gets medicines to make them more psychotic and more susceptible.
Oh, sorry, more
Yeah, like
hallucinogenic. Sorry, my bad.
hallucinogenic. Yeah, he gets
Yeah.
all his hallucinogenic stuff out, and
Basically, he gets his psychedelics out.
yeah,
He
he
was
gets his
doing
trippy shit out.
morphine with his buddy,
Yeah,
but for his enemies, he's like, I'm gonna give you a bad trip.
he has to establish himself as Satan, so he puts on face paint and
He puts on face paint. He first rigs the entire area with like fire lamps, and
yeah.
it's at night. Then he paints his whole body with ash, and then puts black ash, around his eyes and everything. And then he, from his record collection, throughout the film, they establish him as listening to different records.
Hmm.
And from his record collection, he picks the one, the only, Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. And then Jimmy's arrive and they reach the center of the whole ossuary where the actual bone temple itself sits. And Kelson has taken out all his big boombox speakers and set them all around, and he's generated power for them by whirring a generator the old way and everything. And then the Jimmys arrive, he's nowhere to be found, and then the song's intro plays. Woe to you. And then bam, the song comes out. Bruce Dickinson's voice is soaring, and this guy jumps out from nowhere and he lights a fire across the circle of psychedelic powder. And now everyone's huffing the shit, and he's just doing the whole Iron Maiden Number of the Beast sing along cosplay session. Best there is, like $10 million budget session, and he really sells it. As a fan, I enjoyed the fuck out of it. And I think non-fans also would have really enjoyed it. I mean, you're not a big Iron Maiden fan, so you really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. I wish it were longer. I wish.
I wish they didn't cut the song. They
Yeah,
should have
it
just
should
put the
have.
whole
Yeah,
song
it
in.
should have been a whole song performance. Like, because Rafe Fiennes is like, he's game for this. He's doing like weird fucking dance moves and this interpretive dance shit that he's doing and playing around with flames and all
Dude, at
that.
one point he gets this big wooden stick, and in which two ends there are like lit fires, and he's jumping around with it, and sparks are flying.
Yeah.
Like, my God.
My only complaint is this should have been longer. It just whizzes by you. It goes on like it just goes away quickly. But
It's so good. It's so good that you wished you got a little bigger helping of it,
yeah, but the thing is,
basically.
I kept listening to the music to the song for a while after watching the film, and every YouTube link of the song would have tons of commenting that here from Bone Temple. So that was nice to see. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking awesome in the film, and
And so he does this, and he basically convinces, the fingers that he is Satan, and now the song is over. And he tells all the fingers to gather and kneel before him. And then when Jimmy is about to kneel, he's like, "No, not you, my son."
yeah,
It's on the act. And Jimmy's like, "Ooh, yes, I am your son." He has
yeah.
that smile, that ego wala smile. And then he gives his various commandments to the fingers, that Jimmy is his only son, and that they must all follow him, and they must obey his commands no matter what they be, without complaining or talking back. It's like a headmaster giving instructions to school children.
Yeah, the performances are pretty apt. Like it does feel like that. Like they understand the dynamics of every scene very well. Again, this has to do with how well the scene is written, but it's also in the performances to find out like
Yes.
how well, a scene is.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
performances are great across the board. Like I think when we had our last podcast where we talked about great performances, Rafe Fiennes was in 28 Years Later Part One was one of your top picks. So I mean, he's amazing here as well. I mean, another great performance from Jack O'Connell. I don't think it's possible for him to give a bad performance. Having seen him in these two films, he's amazing.
Not just these two. I mean, I'm sure you would have seen Startup, 71.
I've seen 71.
Okay. Not Startup, huh?
Startup sounds like a song and dance film. Uh,
No. It's set in a prison.
oh no, I haven't seen that. I tend to avoid prison films and all that, man. I prison films and war films are like not my shit. But yeah, I love the Jimmys also, and Emma Ladd is
Emma Laird was Jimmy Ma, right?
Jemima, yeah, who felt like the most sadistic of them.
Because she's like, "Oh, you thought I was a small girl who's weak. I'll show
Yeah,
you who's weak."
yeah.
She's got that rage.
Yeah, she's the most fucked up of all of them, and she's played by Emma Laird, who I last saw in Brutalist as the
Yeah,
wife of the Adrian Brody's cousin, who accused
yeah.
him of like assaulting her or whatever. She's amazing. Yeah, she's amazing in this. The casting is like on point again, like just brilliant, brilliant performers.
Even Jimmy Ink.
Jimmy Ink is great, but she's like a known face. Erin Kellyman.
Hmm.
She's been in fucking. She was in Solo, the Star Wars movie. That's when I
Hmm.
saw her the first time. But even the bit players are really well cast. Like, you know that. So there is a bit in the film, like now we're sort of rewinding back a little bit, but where Spike is sent to chase after the pregnant woman who is escaping from the barn,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Spike is like, please take me with you. And she looks like someone who would take Spike and go on further adventures with him, like a sort of a motherly presence, motherly mentor
yeah.
presence. But she just punches him in the gut and leaves, and you believe that as well.
Because she's seen his associates do the worst things to her loved ones and kill them all.
Yeah, which is more than we've seen sitting in India.
Yeah.
So, anyways, rewinding back to
Like how Kelson sounded like a school teacher giving his instructions to the Jimmies. But then he realizes that one of the Jimmies is none other than Spike. And then it all shatters. Like immediately the act is gone, and you see nothing but pain and concern in his eyes, because He's like, fuck, Spike is trapped with them. He puts two and two together immediately, ever as sharp as he's been. And so, in order to set Spike free, he continues and he commands them all to crucify Sir Jimmy Crystal because he knows that's the only way to get Spike out safely is to eliminate Jimmy.
Hmm.
And he hopes that if all these fingers view him as even above Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, then with the suggestiveness that comes with the psychedelics, he hopes that that would get it done. Sacrifice Sir Jimmy himself to Satan. Well, then one thing leads to another, and Dr. Kelson is stabbed, and Jimmy is also crucified upside down. And then Jimmy says he has finally stopped. He's unable to hear his father's voice, and he's screaming from the silence as a Samson appears, and he hallucinates Samson being Satan himself, and he just calls out for his mommy. And at this moment, I just felt heartbroken for him. And then he's just upside down, hanging, crucified, until he's going to be fodder for other zombies.
Which we get a nice jump scare of a zombie appearing.
Yeah.
No, but I like what they're doing with Samson here more than anything because I think he might be a big player in part three as well. Like he is
He'll be a huge player in part three
yeah.
because, if anything, I'm telling you, him being cured is extremely important for the future of humanity, and he's the only one who knows who did it, and that should lead to how he did it.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy to consider. But also his visualization as Satan, Lucifer is someone who fell from God's dominion, right? Who sort of asked,
Yeah.
like, questioned God. So Alex Garland being an atheist, I feel he's jumping onto the fact that Satan is someone who questioned God and escaped his dominion.
Mm,
That interpretation of Paradise Lost, so to say.
mm,
So I feel
mm.
like that's what Samson being shown as Satan is conveying here. That he is like this fallen angel, but in a good way, like as this rebelling angel, rather. A rebel star, you might say, like Prabhas.
No. And so ultimately, Kelson dies and Samson returns. Before Kelson dies, he's able to say, "Thank you, Dr. Kelson."
Yeah.
And that lets Kelson know that the cure worked. And then Kelson dies knowing that the last thing that he did worked. And then we have the epilogue where Spike and Kelly, the only two survivors from Jimmy's gang who've broken free of him, are now running somewhere else and they're being chased by a horde of zombies. And lo and behold, Killian Murphy returns from 28 days later. And he's now a teacher and he's got a daughter. And he says, of course, we should help them. There we are left.
I fucking love this film. I am sad that it's not doing as well in the box office. I hope we get part three regardless, maybe because Cillian Murphy's in it. There is supposed to be a what is that film? Peaky Blinders movie that's supposed to be coming out, and he's the star in it, of course. Is that a Netflix origin or is that a theatrical thing? Because I feel like if that movie does well, then they will have much more incentive to greenlight a Killian Murphy led 28 years later part three.
They did say that they've already greenlit it, but now it's a bit iffy. Yeah, but also Danny Boyle and Jack O'Connell are shooting a film together right now.
Yeah, scheduled shoot after that. But I don't think. Do you think Jack O'Connell is coming back? He died right at the end of this.
He's dead. He's dead.
Yeah,
No, but Danny Boyle is coming back, so
but I feel like he could come back as a zombie or something like that.
wouldn't do much yet.
No, it could be interesting. A sort
I
of
mean,
a
he comes back as a zombie. It's a cameo at best. He's a zombie. What more is he doing? Unless then there's a whole subplot of them curing him
nice.
and
Yeah,
then sending him to therapy, and then we have a spin-off where
maybe that's what the film is about. Maybe Killian Murphy was a therapist in his pre-pandemic life.
no, he is a bike courier.
Okay, I don't remember that detail.
A few days back, I watched it, so
Hmm.
I love this film unabashedly. I just wish tickets here were a little cheaper. I can't really afford to rewatch films right now. But if I could, I would have rewatched this at least two more times.
I feel like I saw a trailer of the film because if you don't put in all the gore and the stuff that makes this character, I feel like I watched a very compromised version of the film, like more compromised than usually these films are in Indian theaters, and that's fucking sad. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it when it comes on video.
Me too.
So yeah, that was our spiel on 28 years later, The Bone Temple, which is a stellar film, fucked over by its marketing, I feel, and its release schedule. And yeah, we love the film.
But nonetheless, it's a masterpiece, pretty much. And its lofty ideals are just immensely praiseworthy and like applaudable for its courage and audacity. And I really hope we get to see the third and concluding film in this trilogy.
So if you want us to make you a movie mixtape, the link is in the description. And yeah, that was the 8mm Syndicate signing off. We'll see you next week.
Until next time.